Folks, welcome back. Today's video is going to be super important. It's going to have to do with how we value rarity and scarcity in this hobby and how it applies to the value of your cards and your cards going forward. And a lot of you, like myself, have friends that swear up and down they only collect or invest in vintage or rare or niche or low population items. And to all of you, I say share this video with those friends of yours. Link them to this video. I truly believe I have information in this video that will get them to rethink their positions and maybe start to understand the other side of things just a little bit more and not, as they so lovingly put it, overprinted garbage. So let's go ahead and jump into this video. First off, I'm going to read some numbers to you and apply it to some real world situations. So the Umbreon VMAX, the PSA 10 population report is up to 13,782. There's only 48 on the market right now. That's 0.3% of the entire supply actually listed on the market. The Gengar VMAX Alt Art has 7,775 total supply, and there's only 44 on the market, which is 0.5%. The Lugia V has 11,639 in existence in a PSA 10. There's only 56 on the market, which is, again, a 0.5%. Charizard V has 47 on the market out of 10,381 in existence, which is 0.4% of the total supply, and many of the other alt arts have similar numbers. What this means is, if you have a vintage card that has a 100 population report, and there are, say, 2, 3 on the entire market, there's actually 4 to 6 times more on the market when it comes to the total supply than there are of these modern alt arts. Let me take it one step further. If you have, say, 1,000 people that all want that 100 population card, okay, you have 10% of people that are allowed to own it and 90% of people that are fighting to hopefully own it one day and buy it. If you have, say, 10,000 people that all want that one vintage card that has 100 population, you have only 1% of the people that can actually own it, and 99% of people are the ones that actually want to own it one day or are fighting to own it, okay? Fast forward to modern. The same ratio is true if you have 10,000 population and 1 million people that all want that card. It's the same 1%. Now let's take it even further. If you have 10 million people worldwide that all want to own that one Umbreon alt art and it's at 10,000 population report, which I know it's a little higher, but let's say it's at 10,000, okay? You have 0.1%. 0.1% of people can actually own that card. 99.9% of people are all fighting to buy that card one day, okay? Now let's say this, in the future, it raises up to 50,000 population. Everyone freak out. Oh my gosh, the biggest number ever. If it got to 50,000 population in PSA 10 and you had 10 million people that wanted it, guess what? Guess what? It's still only 0.5% of the entire population of people that want that card can actually own it. And that is what drives the value of these modern cards. People never assign enough value to scarcity or demand, and they always over-assign value to rarity. Because guys, rarity, at the end of the day, it's just a number that tells how many of something's out there, right? Something being rare doesn't necessarily mean it's more valuable. If you have a population of a card at 500 and only 1,000 people want it, it's not going to gain much value because there's not enough competition there for the card, right? 50% of people that want the card can already own it. And so you're not going to have a lot of movement on that card. And the more and more Pokemon, extends into this era of gorgeous artwork, which it's subjective, but most people, I would say, if you took a survey, prefer modern full art artwork like SIRs and alt arts and trainer galleries and illustration rares over, the half art, little box vintage artworks. It's just the way it is. And so a lot of the driving factor for vintage is only going to be the nostalgia, the significance to the hobby, and the rarity, and obviously the amount of population reports that are out there. So the rarity of that. And so without any of those factors, there's nothing else really there to drive the value of the vintage and mid-era cards the way there is the modern cards. And the only real criticism that modern gets is, oh, just wait till that demand falls. Just wait till that scarcity isn't there anymore. When? My question to you is when? XY is 10 years old now. Sun and Moon's 7 years old. Sword and Shield's like 3-4 years old now. When's it going to happen? Because all of these cards have much higher population reports than anything we've seen before. They're all in the thousands and then now tens of thousands. And they're not dropping. They're not falling off a cliff. They're still selling regularly. There's still demand. The demand goes up and down. The prices go up and down. But this lie that we've been told that all of this stuff is overprinted and the population reports are too high for these cards to hold value is really just a flawed way of thinking, because we're underestimating the amount of demand and the amount of people out there that are always going to want certain cards in this hobby. Now, I agree. Each era is only going to have a handful of cards that actually perform well long term. A lot of the cards won't, because there won't be enough demand. But when it comes to alt arts, when it comes to some of the top hits in Sun and Moon, the top hits in XY, we've continued to see growth over the years, even if the pop reports are 2 and 5 and 10,000, because there's so many more people that actually want them. And the ratio that are actually in existence and the ratio that are actually on the market are so much lower than the ratio of people that want them comparatively to the stuff in mid-era or vintage. And so the fact that the numbers are bigger doesn't necessarily mean the values should be lower. In fact, if the numbers weren't bigger, you would see almost all of these modern cards eclipse the price of almost all vintage cards. It's just simple math. You have this high of demand. If the population reports were still in the hundreds, could you imagine what an Umbreon VMAX would go for? You don't have to imagine. Just go look at the value of some of the very low population cards. Go look at the Charizard GX from Burning Shadows, right? Go look at the Evolutions Charizard in PSA 10. Just go look at some of the cards that have very low population still in the hundreds and look at how high value they already are. That will tell you how bad it would be if some of the most sought after cards in the entire hobby and modern Pokemon cards had low pop reports. In my opinion, we could still use to continue to get more graded, because honestly, it's almost unhealthy having the total amount of supply at 0.3, 0.4, 0.5% on the total market. And what's crazy about it is alt arts are on another run. Sword and Shield's booming right now. Everything's rising. And so you're having Umbreon almost reach its all-time highs, and people are not flocking to sell them, which takes away the whole conspiracy theory of everyone's just in this for a quick buck. Everyone's just manipulating the market and buying it out. Isn't the second stage of a buyout to actually sell when it does work and everything does go to the moon? Well, why aren't people selling in mass right now? Could it be people actually want to collect this card? Could it be people actually see value in this card? Could they feel that since they are one of the 13,782 people that own that card, but they know that millions and millions of people out there want that card, it seems valuable to them? Which isn't that the whole point of collectibles? Owning things that others can't have, and because others can't have it and want it, it raises the value of them? These are the ways you need to be thinking, instead of just sticking in your own bubble and your own groups who all just repeat the same things again and again in your echo chambers, and understand there are other ways of thinking. There are people that feel differently than you. There are people that assign values to things in different ways that you assign values to things. And whenever the largest amount of people all started assigning values the same way, it totally refutes anything that you believe, because it no longer becomes true. And this is the hardest thing for people to accept. And I've had to accept it multiple times in my life on things. We have to accept when it comes to cryptos or the stock market or anything out there. And whenever you get in your own way and don't allow yourself to accept things like this, it just holds you back. It just stops you from being able to grow and flourish in the hobby and see gains on cards and, collect other things. And again, it's not me saying that you can't do well in other areas of the hobby. All I'm trying to do is make the case for modern cards and show people that population reports in 5, 10, 15, 20,000 amounts, it doesn't necessarily dequalify these cards from having value in the future, right? It doesn't necessarily mean there won't be at least 5, 10, 15, 20,000 people plus that want that card and are willing to pay the price for that card in the future. So that's all I got, guys. Hopefully this video at least helped you look outside the box and think about things in a different way. I'm sure I'll get blown up in the comment sections with all kinds of different things. I can't wait to read everyone else's opinions. And subscribe if you're not yet. Be back in a new one soon. I'm out.